Welcome to IAS project. In this video, let's talk about the end of mature Harappan phase. Now let's briefly talk about what was the race of Harappans. Before we talk about race of Harappans, you need to understand what race exactly is. So let's talk about race and some other terms which generally are confused with the word race. You will come across these words numerous times. For example, you may be reading a newspaper or some novel or a book or watching a movie. The words like race, ethnicity, nationality are often heard. However, if you are preparing for this exam, then it is very important that you need to understand the definition. If not the definition, you need to understand what is the meaning of these words or meaning of these terms. Because all these terms are very closely related. All these terms are mainly important from the point of view of GS paper 1, particularly the Indian society topic. So what is race? Race is nothing but all those physical characteristics by which you can define a person or you can put that person in a specific group. So this is basically the meaning of the word race. If you want example, skin color, hair color, texture of the skin, eye color, facial features, physical build, all these aspects are basically elements of race. If we talk about skin color, you can divide the people of the world mainly into 4 races. If the skin color is white, those people are called as Caucasians. If the skin color is black, then those people are called as Negroids. Similarly, if the skin color is yellow, then those people are nothing but Asians, or we can call them as Mongoloids. And brown skin people are generally called as Australoids. So this is how you divide people based on their skin color. So all these are nothing but races. So Caucasian race, Negroid race, Mongoloid race or Australoid race. Similarly, other examples also can be applied. Now let's talk about what ethnicity is. Race was about physical characteristics. Ethnicity is about cultural characteristics of a person by which you can put that person in a specific group. Let's see some of the examples of ethnicity. Language, accent. Accent means the way you speak or pronounce the language. For example, Americans speak English with a different accent. British people speak English with a different accent. Indians also speak English with a different accent. So on the basis of accent also, you can divide ethnicity of a person. Other examples are religion, styles of dress, hairstyles, social customs, and all these. Please note that any particular person can belong to a different race at the same time and different ethnicity also. So race is about physical characteristics, whereas ethnicity is about cultural characteristics of a person. Nationality is very simple because nationality is not a subjective but a legal term. Nationality is basically the legal sense of belonging to a specific political nation state. Example of nationality is citizenship. If you belong to India, you will be Indian citizen and therefore your nationality is Indian. Similarly for other countries also. I know that all these terms are not specifically related to history, but believe me when I tell you this, these things are very important. These things are usually not covered specifically in any part of syllabus, but you are expected to know these things and know these things to the point. Let me also give you one more advice. You should not only know what to study, you should also know where to stop any particular topic. For example, from the general knowledge point of view, this is only the extent up to which you need to know about race. If you are studying about Indian society, yes, you need to know a little bit more. But from general knowledge point of view, you only need this much. Now, if you are going beyond this and going into research, please note that such kind of effort is counterproductive because your time is limited and exam syllabus is also more or less limited. You don't need to do a PhD in race or ethnicity. So the bottom line is you only need to learn what is important for the exam and you need to stop whenever you know that this much is enough from the point of view of exam. This is the best tip I can give you in this video today. Okay, let's go back to race of the Harappans. Indus civilization people mainly had 2 racial factors. What were those 2? One was Mediterranean type and the other was Proto-Australoid type. Mediterranean, as the name suggests, these kind of people were mainly towards the western side of India, that is in the Middle East as well as in the ancient Egypt. If we talk about Proto-Australoid people, these people were mainly towards the east of India as well as southeast. So basically you can note that Indus civilization was the meeting point of both these races. That is why in India, especially in South India, people are a mix between Mediterranean race as well as Proto-Australoid race. Most of the North Indians are actually belonging to Mediterranean race, but South Indians are a mix of both of these. So that is why physical characteristics or facial characteristics of North Indians as well as South Indians generally differ. This point is useful from the point of view of Indian society. You can just read it. I'm not going to explain it here further. If we talk about Harappan civilization, particularly the bronze dancing girl statue which was found in Mohenjo-daro is believed to be of Proto-Australoid race. However, the bearded priest sculpture which was again found in Mohenjo-daro, which was made of steatite stone, was probably a mix of these two races, that is Mediterranean type race and Proto-Australoid type race. So we can say that mainly Harappans were belonging to these two types. So how did mature Harappan phase or mature Harappan culture end? We know that the timeline of mature Harappan culture is from 2600 BCE to 1900 BCE. So after 1900 BCE, what happened was most of the mature Harappan sites in the region of Cholistan were either abandoned or the population in these cities started to decline. Not only the population but also the material culture started to decline. Material culture means their houses, the type of bricks they were using, the type of pottery, and all these material aspects of culture basically started to decline or depreciate. What is Cholistan? Cholistan is basically the Thar desert part of Pakistan. So in Rajasthan we have Thar desert. On the other side of the border also, adjoining the Thar desert, there is a desert in Pakistan. That desert is called as Cholistan, or sometimes it is also called as Rohi. So we can say that Cholistan and Thar desert form a part of Great Thar Desert region. So this is your knowledge for geography. So after 1900 BCE, mature Harappan sites or mature Harappan cities in Cholistan and other region were either abandoned or the population decreased as well as the material culture of these sites decreased. So when we say material culture decreased, we mean that the distinctive artifacts that we were finding in mature Harappan culture like seals, weights, bricks, pottery and all these either disappeared or the number has decreased greatly. Moreover, large public structures like granary or dockyards and shipyards etc. were either not built anymore or they were less impressive. Moreover, the houses that the people were building after 1900 were also less impressive if we consider or if we compare them to mature Harappan phase culture houses. So basically, this decline from urban life to rural life is simply called as late Harappan culture. Sometimes it is also called as successor culture to mature Harappan culture. Sometimes it is also called as sub-Indus culture. So all these are basically different names, but the most important name probably is late Harappan culture. So the population declined and the cities were abandoned. So where did this population go exactly? They started to move towards Gujarat, Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh, which means that from Cholistan area they started to move towards east or they started to move towards south. In south we have Gujarat and in east we have Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. So we can say that the general direction was towards east, south or we can say southeast. And in these new areas people started to make new settlements and new sites. These sites were actually very small compared to the cities that were existing in mature Harappan culture. So let's see again in bullet points. Harappan cities started to decline around 1900 BCE. So people abandoned the cities or we can say basically stopped living in many of the cities. And these people started to move towards east and south. In east we have Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. In south we have Gujarat. Moreover, the material culture declined. It means that the standardization and uniformity of artifacts. For example, the Harappan script was gone now. The number of seals decreased. Harappan uniform weight system also stopped to be used. So basically we can say that the standardization and uniformity, which was the most important feature of mature Harappan phase, was now abandoned, or we can say the usage declined. Moreover, the importance of trade has also declined because people moved out of cities and they started building new smaller settlements like villages. In villages, generally trade is not important. So what happened was imports and exports reduced. Because imports reduced, raw material import became very rare. Earlier, items and products were coming from Mesopotamia, Iran, Afghanistan and many other places. But in late Harappan culture, import of raw materials became rare. Moreover, the drainage system in the cities broke down. Because of this, garbage piled on the streets. During excavations, this was actually found in Mohenjo-daro city. Moreover, in Mohenjo-daro, what they observed was, after 1900 BCE, the houses became less impressive. Moreover, sometimes the houses and other buildings were often built on the streets. For example, in Mohenjo-daro, they have found a pottery kiln which was built on a street. During mature Harappan culture, such kind of activity was not permitted because the government in mature Harappan culture was strictly maintaining the aspects of town building. But once mature Harappan culture declined and late Harappan culture began around 1900 BCE, we have observed that in Mohenjo-daro, a pottery kiln was also built right in the middle of the street. So all this points towards a decline in the culture. At the same time, we must note that all Harappan cultures did not decline at the same time. Some Harappan cities were abandoned very much soon. Some Harappan cities were abandoned very late. In fact, in most of the cities, the size of the city decreased, but people still were living in that city. If we talk about Lothal, Lothal did not abruptly change from mature Harappan phase to late Harappan phase. In Lothal, there was basically a gradual transformation from mature Harappan phase to late Harappan phase. So we can say that in Lothal, the transformation was continuous. This is important word because in other cities, the transformation was not continuous. In other cities, it was basically an abrupt transformation. But in the case of Lothal, it was a gradual transformation and we can say the culture was continuous. Moreover, Lothal also survived long after its parent cities have fallen. Parent cities means, for example, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa and other important cities. So we can say that Lothal is very important from the point of view of late Harappan phase also. Generally speaking, by the end of mature Harappan phase, trade with Mesopotamia also decreased. Now, let us briefly talk about what are some of the possible reasons for decline of Indus culture, or I can say mature Indus culture. Please notice that the word used here is decline. It is not complete destruction. So Indus culture was still surviving. It basically declined. The first reason which is shown here is rivers were drying up, especially the Gaggar-Hakra river system. We have talked about Gaggar-Hakra river system in our previous videos. There we have studied that Gaggar-Hakra river system was very important river system for the Harappan cities that were mainly in Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan. However, almost 4000 years ago, what happened was the Gaggar-Hakra river system started to dry up. And because of drying up of this river system, what happened was the cities along this river plain or the cities near these rivers started to decline. Another reason is climate change. It is believed that the pattern of monsoons has changed almost around 4000 years ago. There was a shift in the monsoon towards eastern direction. That is why after 1900 BCE, people started to move towards east. And new settlements were basically built up in Haryana, Punjab and western Uttar Pradesh. Initially they were in Pakistan and border of India. But once monsoons started to shift towards east, new settlements came up to western Uttar Pradesh. So these are a reason for decline in mature Harappan phase culture. Another possible reason is low rainfall as well as increase in aridity. I told you that there was a shift in monsoons towards east. So in the western areas, basically rainfall has decreased. Increase in aridity basically means that drought was happening. Previously, we talked about Meghalayan age. I hope you remember we spoke about Meghalayan age when we were discussing prehistoric period and Stone Age. In that video, we said that this is very important from the point of view of geography and current affairs. So Meghalayan age started somewhere around 4200 years ago. That is nothing but 2200 BCE. And when Meghalayan age started, there was also a start of extreme drought. And this extreme drought lasted for 200 years. So I can say that it almost lasted till 2000 BCE. And this extreme drought is also called as 4.2 kilo year event. So many scientists today actually relate this drought to increase in aridity in Harappan civilization. So start of Meghalayan age basically led to a decline in Indus culture also. Not only Indus culture, actually the start of Meghalayan age ended many other cultures across the world. Another important reason was deforestation. Deforestation simply means cutting off trees in the forest. Why were trees being cut? Because Indus people needed firewood. They used firewood mainly as fuel. And why did they use this firewood? Mainly for baking bricks as well as for smelting copper ore. So some experts are of the opinion that deforestation has also changed the climate in the region. And because of that, soil fertility was lost and agriculture also declined. So this may be one reason for decline of Indus culture. Another reason probably was destruction of green cover. Green cover basically means grasses were destroyed, or we can say grasslands were destroyed, mainly because Harappan people were engaged in excessive agriculture, and in this excessive agriculture they started grazing cattle, sheep, goat and other domestic animals on these grasses and grasslands. So they depleted these grasses and grasslands, and when these grasses and grasslands decreased, it led to desertification. Another reason probably was floods. We know that the Indus river system is very prone to floods. In our last video, we have discussed that Mohenjo-daro was always subjected to floods. So similarly, other rivers along the Indus and its tributaries were also subjected to floods. And because of these floods, the rivers often change their courses. Change of course of river means, for example, if the river is flowing like this, let's say after 100 years, the river is going to change its course somewhere like this. I hope you have studied about oxbow lakes in your geography. You can associate that with this phenomena here. And because of this, let's say if there was a city here originally, now this city would be destroyed because the river has crossed this city from this side to that side. So this was probably one reason for decline of Indus cities. Another reason was earthquakes and other natural calamities. Some experts are of the opinion that Indus city mainly declined because the rulers started to lose their control. And once rulers started to lose their control, there was widespread anarchy. And because of this anarchy, mature Harappan phase declined. All the standardization, uniformity and the technology also declined. And whatever was remaining was nothing but the late Harappan Chalcolithic culture. Another most important and proved evidence for the decline of Harappan civilization was invasions occurred from the west. It is scientifically proven because initially the villages that were there in Balochistan started to be attacked. And these attackers actually came on horses. We know that horses were not widely used in Harappan civilization, but invaders came with horses. And these invaders started to kill the people in Balochistan villages. We know that Balochistan is located in the west of Pakistan. Once these invaders came, the people living in the Balochistan villages started to move towards east. For example, let's say in the east we have Mohenjo-daro. And because of this, what happened was Mohenjo-daro city started to be flooded with refugees. And these refugees brought their local material aspects of culture with them. And because of this refugee culture, the Harappan culture in Mohenjo-daro started to be affected. Moreover, because of the refugees, crowding of the cities also happened. Because of this crowding, people started to live on the streets also. That is why just a short while ago, I told you that houses became less impressive. Moreover, people started to build houses right on the streets, right on the middle of the streets. These were mainly the activities of refugees. And the invaders, they came to Mohenjo-daro and attacked there also. This is also scientifically proven because we have found many dead bodies in the streets in Mohenjo-daro. Previously, we have studied that Harappans buried their dead people. But in Mohenjo-daro, around 1900 BCE, we have found that many people were dead in the streets. This means that these people were attacked by invaders, and these invaders came from west, and these invaders also rode horses. Eventually, people started to leave Mohenjo-daro also. They came to Haryana, then they came to western Uttar Pradesh. Another important but controversial reason is Aryan invasion theory. Aryan invasion theory was mainly proposed by Mortimer Wheeler. This person, Mortimer Wheeler, was actually the Director General of Archaeological Survey of India, I think from 1944 to 48, something like this. The year is not important, but please remember that Mortimer Wheeler was the Director General of Archaeological Survey of India during the time of independence of India. Okay? And Mortimer Wheeler was the proponent of Aryan invasion theory. He said that Harappan cities mainly declined because Aryan people came from Central Asia and then they started to attack Harappan cities. Eventually, these Aryans settled in the areas which were previously belonging to Harappan people. Please note that this theory is a little bit controversial. So there are many scientists who actually oppose this theory. Whatever the case is, we will again study about Aryan invasion theory in our lectures of Aryan culture. So please remember this person because I will be taking note of this person once again. So basically this is about the decline of mature Indus culture. In our next video, we will learn about the late Harappan culture or the late Indus culture. If you like this video, please subscribe. You can download this presentation on our Telegram channel. The name of the channel is IAS Project. The link for this channel is given in the description below. Thank you.